Heather, welcome to the Scenic Route podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. So, for anyone who's listening in today and who doesn't know you, can you please briefly walk us through your story? Like how you started, how you got like the Heather you are today, like the pivotal
Yeah.
crossroads, the gossip, the hot tea. Give it all.
Give a hot tea. I don't know how much time we have and how far we want to go back.
Oh
I could go,
well,
I
just give
could
me
go
all the
back to the day I was
juicy.
born. I love it. I love
If
it.
it's a juicy story, I'm here for it.
That's fantastic. So the biggest pieces of my life and like the story were more in my adult life. One thing from a childhood that really kind of helped begin like tell the story of where I ended up and was from my dad. So my dad was killed in a farm accident when I was in high school. And now I can look back and see all the traits and the qualities and the characteristics that I have in him, even though I haven't, it was 13. I had 13
Yeah,
years with him. That was it. But to look now, and my mom will tell me, she's like, man, you've got so many great qualities of your dad,
that's so
you know?
beautiful.
And I'm like, I do. And I look at my mom like, and don't discount yourself because there's a lot of great things of her that I have in me too, to
Yeah.
get me to where I'm at. And so I bring that up because a lot of the story of my life, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I've got they were young at the time, three boys, and stay-at-home mom, and life turned upside down. And I ended up getting a divorce from someone, that we marry thinking that that was going to be our forever story, and it was
Mhm.
not. There were things about him that as the further along we got that we realized this isn't good, it isn't healthy.
Mm.
We're separating.
Not
He
working
ended up
out.
having an affair. There were some other things. No, just not working out. And that's life fell apart. I crumbled. There was depression. I mean, there was probably the first 18 months, I was hardly out of bed aside from when my boys were home. I got them up, took them to school, came home. It was sleeping. It's all I could do to function. It was
Mm.
like a semi hit me right on, right?
Mm.
And to see what I've grown and done now is so cool. And the thing that people, sometimes will say, well, divorce or death, you're talking about those things. My mom has said, she's like, Heather, your dad dying was harder for me to see and to be a part of, to witness,
Mm.
than watching you go through the divorce.
Mm.
And I'm like, really? Because man, would love to have had dad here. And she said, yeah, but, and this could get me emotional even thinking about it. She's like, she said, your dad, I loved him to the day he died, and he loved me until the day that
Mm.
he died. And you didn't get that gift, Heather. You missed out on that gift, And so,
Mm.
yes, there was lots of lemons in the mess of my divorce, and those things helped me become stronger to be able to create the business that I have and have
Mm.
three healthy boys that are now college age and living a great life. And we're
Oh,
blessed to
yes.
be able to go and travel and just, it's a grand life. It really is.
Mm. But that's right. Like it always sounds like a cheesy Pinterest quote, but it's kind of like there's always light and dark, right? And sometimes we kind of like need the dark to realize, hey, actually life is pretty awesome
Yeah.
and we're doing
Yeah.
great. And like not saying, well, I don't know, 24 like 24 hours every day, every single day of every week is fantastic. But like the bottom line is, right? There's still things that we're like, ugh. Um, but the bottom line, like, I'm curious though, like how, like, I mean, I get that. So like we're going back to you were divorced to three young boys. I only got one. I'm like, hallelujah. He's three and
It
a
was
half now. Now I'm like, oh my God. No, no, no.
I had
So
three under the age of 4, so I kept hopping for a while.
you're a saint superwoman merged in into everything. Dear Lord. Well, like, I mean, yeah, boys, I don't know, when they're three, I know now where they're called teenagers because but it's also kind of cool because it's the age where they kind of like really start to show their own personalities and like answer, like really have conversations with you. They're not always conversations you like, we're already having conversations where I'm not want to have, but
Yeah, they're pretty brutally honest, aren't they?
oh yeah, like the other day, I remember getting a bit off topic, but it's fine. Like the other day, I was cutting apples for his snack, and he was coming into the kitchen. He was looking at me. He was looking at the apples. He was looking at me. He said, "Mama, yesterday the apple slices were prettier. They were more even." And I'm like, like get lost. Seriously, get lost. Like go. Like you could just be thankful that I'm actually cutting you apple slices. Dear.
Oh, absolutely.
But like he said it in such a like, yeah, like that sweet little boy. And you're like, I cannot be mad at him, but I'm like,
Right.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
okay.
totally innocent. Like he was
Yeah.
just stating,
Yeah.
in his mind, he's stating a fact.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah, of course.
they were
And I mean, he
prettier
was
last year.
right. He was right. I mean, they were like wonky all over the place because I was just rushing it. I mean, that's what you get when you rush things. And of course, my mom's like, well, karma's a bitch. And I'm like, okay, got it. But so like,
Yeah.
let's go back to like kind of like your like your dark phase and like
Mhm.
how did you kind of like pick yourself up and started putting the pieces back together?
It I always had a great support system around me, and that's
Mm,
something that I never took for granted. I was very
mm,
thankful for that from my
mm-hmm,
mom, from other family, from friends, even from people that were they were like clients. They weren't there was like just getting to meet these people, right? There was
mm-hmm,
clients in my life that I was just starting this business, and even they were there to support and encourage and,
mm,
you know, push a little bit more, and encourage you to do things. And so that's one
mm.
of the blessings with this business is when I started it, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do photography. I didn't. I know. And my
That's
clients
so
listen,
funny.
they're probably like,
Mhm.
yeah, they're like, what? No, I didn't want to. My job was a stay-at-home mom. That is the
Yeah,
only title I wanted for the rest of my life. I didn't want
yeah,
to do
so you're
anything
like,
else.
okay, cool, now I do kind of photography because it pays the bills.
Right. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do something. And one of my friends, she's like, yes, you need to do this. I'm like, okay. So I went out and took pictures. $50 for the first session. And every time they come up in my Facebook memories, I'm like, oh wow, I'm
Ooh,
glad
that
that
those are the
I've learned a lot
days.
since then. Right. But what I quickly found is that photography, thankfully, other people knew. I mean, I've always loved taking pictures, but never dreamed I could make it a business
Mm,
because of the person that I chose to listen to for so many years in my adult life. I believed that I wasn't smart enough, good enough, capable enough. Who am I to think I could run a business? Who am
was
I to
that your
think that I could actually
ex-partner?
make
Was that
money?
your ex-husband?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's
Mm,
like I have all those feelings. So who am I to do this? Well, thankfully, someone else saw, you're like, you need to do this. You got a gift, you got a
mm,
talent. And that, as I would start taking pictures, I could through the day, like when my kids were at school, would hardly get out of bed
mm.
early on, but I would be forced. I would have to leave the house. I would have to go take these stupid pictures. It's kind of like my feelings, right? I'm like, I gotta take these stupid
So
pictures.
so it's kind of like a little like a rebel bitch, like, I don't want to get up, but I've got to get the stupid pictures.
No, I gotta go do this. And that hour or half hour,
Yeah.
whatever time we were spending with them, by the time I was done, it filled me up so much. Like I could feel
Oh,
a little bit
yeah.
of that happiness coming back. I could feel pieces of me that I didn't know had been
Oh,
gone.
yeah.
And
Oh, that's beautiful.
it was a
Mm,
beautiful thing to be able to empower them, to have them have a great experience. But honestly, in those early days, they were giving me a bigger gift than what I could have given them. Regardless of what they would say, it was even more back to me. And so that was
mm,
a huge piece, is just kind of just taking that step, taking one step, taking a baby step, crawling, just inching, doing
mm.
something and having that action. And that really did help.
Yeah, I feel there's so much like beauty and wisdom in that, right? Like you sometimes when we think of like entrepreneurship and the start of it all, like I don't know. I mean, we're stopped believing that we're not successes because we're smart. And like it's really about the willingness to go slow and do baby steps and do things that maybe you don't want to do, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe I don't know, you didn't want to go out of bed, or you didn't want to charge only $50 for it, or whatever it is, right? Like it's, you wanted to stay at home. It's just kind of like just inching and stretching that muscle. And especially what I feel when you're been told for so long that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes, blah, 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 blah. You always like, you have to retrain. It's kind of like a muscle. You have to retrain your self-belief again and be like, no, actually, I did this job. Clients were happy. They paid me. I can do this. And kind of like work your way up, or work your way towards, not up, but work your way towards whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
Like, I'm curious, was there like a, like what's the like early, like in your business, what was kind of like the biggest decision you've made in your business, and why was it such a big deal?
The first biggest decision was just
Mm.
saying, I'm a photographer. You know,
Yeah, like really
it,
identifying with like, hey,
yes.
I'm like a
Oh,
self-employed
yes.
photographer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, talk
Mm.
about imposter syndrome just coming from every direction. Like, who are you to call
Ooh,
yourself
look,
a
no.
photographer? I mean, people would even ask what I do, and it was a battle of, no, I'm not really a photographer. I stay at home with my boys.
And I
Oh, and I
take
take
pictures, or what
pictures
do you
on.
say?
Yes, yes, yep,
No.
yep, absolutely, absolutely.
So
And
what
so,
happened that you kind of like started owning, I'm a photographer, take it or leave it?
yeah, I sent an email. So I sent an email, this is what, 12 years ago. So sent an email to about 50 of my people that were on that, friends and acquaintances that are around in the area.
Mm.
And I made a professional email that said, I'm starting a photography business. I am starting to charge, doing all these things. I'm like, Heather Wanninger photography and this and that, and announced it. That seriously was a
Yeah.
very scary thing. And that,
Mm-hmm.
listening to it now, it kind of makes me laugh that there could be so much fear around it. But I think that's where we get back to that whole taking small steps, just taking small action.
Yeah.
If it's something that excites you, that lights you up, if you feel it's your passion, if you feel like something you're meant to do, just take little steps, because that email alone was terrifying. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
raced to the bathroom after I sent that email because I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't
How
believe
long
I
did that
just.
email stay in your draft folder before you hit send?
Oh, no. No, it hit send as right away because I knew. I'm like, if I
Now or
don't hit send it
never?
now, it was now or never. We are going and we're committing to it. And the response was great, right? I mean, I think so many times we can play up in our minds very quickly,
Mm.
all the negative. Oh, here's
Mm.
all the things that could go wrong.
Yes.
Right. And exercises that really help me is just writing down, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Right.
Mm.
Because our brains are our brain is set to keep us safe, right? We want to be safe. If
Yes.
we touch something hot, it's sending neurons
It's
to the
like,
brain that says, oh
no.
yeah, don't touch that.
Mm.
Don't do it. And if we don't determine what's the best case scenario and worst case scenarios and things, our mind will determine the worst. And it'll be like, run, you're gonna die. You're feeling scared. Go. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's certainly not going to happen with an
Mm.
email, but my feelings and emotions around it, boy, it felt pretty darn close. But if
Yeah.
you think, okay, what's worst case scenario? I send this email, what happens? No one responds. What's worst case scenario? Someone says no, they're not interested. Okay, can I keep on going? Yes, even if they say that, I'm not going to die. What's best case scenario? If someone says yes. If someone says yes, I
Mm.
get to go and do something that excites me. I get to
Yeah.
create beautiful pictures and freeze a moment of time for people. I get to be able to do
Mm.
something else fun with my kids. I get to, right? And then you start looking at the pros and cons, like, okay, just go. Let's jump. And so that's really helped me. But yeah, that was actually one
Yeah.
of the scariest things that I've done in my business. And
Yeah.
anytime I choose
I
to
get
level
that.
up.
Oh yeah, like that's the beauty of being in business, the beauty and the curse, right? Like it's always there will be always be hard moments, and you're like, oh darn, that really
Absolutely.
now I need some really. I kind of like I have to put my big girl pants on. But
Yes. What I love about it though is that when you have had those feelings and that email that was scary, and the next time that I created something and offered an opportunity that was new to a client
mm,
and this, and when you get those yeses, the next time when you feel like you're reaching an obstacle that's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm gonna do it. Look back. Look at you.
mhm,
You've got proof that you are
yes,
capable, smart enough,
yes,
of amazing, all these things, because you've had all of this already.
no.
And so always looking back, is really great to be able to see that, to give you encouragement to take that next scary step.
Yes, that you're touching on such an important point, right? Because I see so many clients as well who go like, okay, cool, I did that. And they're kind of like rushing to the next thing, which is cool. But you always kind of like gotta take a moment to celebrate your success and to really like anchor it in, because that way you can draw from it again when you're like, shit, I want to do something really scary and I don't know. So you can be like, hey, actually, I remembered how good it felt like when I got the yes, to kind of like help you take the leap and be like, ooh,
Yes.
okay. But if you don't really take the time to anchor it in, if you kind of like rush through it, always like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, it, it I don't know. I think it tends to get forgotten and be like, oh,
Yeah.
and we'll catch up with you eventually in some way.
Well,
But
and let me tell you, because
yeah,
I've lived in both of them, right? There are seasons where I'm like, okay, go, 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 go. And then other times where it's like, I am celebrating everything. It's new, exciting, all that.
yes.
When I can celebrate, every step is more fun. And what you're saying, it anchors it in. And it
Mm.
doesn't have to be, because at one point I think, oh, celebrate. How are we going to celebrate? Is it going to get a massage? Is it going on a trip? Because me, celebrate. I mean, I hear celebrate. Let's go big. We're going to go on a trip
I
overseas. We're going to do all
love
these
that
great things,
attitude.
right?
Yes, that's when we celebrate, we go big. I love it. Yes, I'm up
I
for that.
know. I know. So let's do it. And we can celebrate every day in the small things. If you
Yeah,
cross
like
your top 3 must do's off the list, awesome. There was one time my coach we were on a call and she's like, okay, so how are you going to celebrate? And it was something that I just completed. I'm like, and I turn on a YouTube video and we literally over Zoom are dancing to Cool in the Gang. And we're just sitting there. Yes, celebrate. We're going to celebrate and have a good time, right? Yes, see, we're jamming right now.
yes, I love
Even
this.
that,
Yeah, it
even
doesn't.
that small,
Yeah,
small
it doesn't
pause.
have. We have to like detach ourselves from like all like celebrating has to be something material. Like it does not. It
No,
does not. It can be any part. It can be anything from your self-care repertoire um that makes you feel good.
yeah.
Doesn't have to
I
be material at all.
no, I have a diner bell, a little ding on my desk. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I accomplish something on my task, ding it. I'm
Oh,
like,
I love that. It's like in
okay,
the pubs when you get a big tip, they ring the bell.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yep,
awesome.
yep,
I love that. I should do that too. We're gonna ring the bell. Like, yeah,
yeah,
well done, Jennifer. Good. I'm gonna ring the bell.
yes. Because when
That's
those
such
are
a good one.
when
Yeah.
we like attract and like ignite those great endorphins,
Yeah.
those feel goods, it's going to say, oh, okay, your brain, it's like your brain saying, oh, okay, that was good. We want more. We'll find more, and it just
Yeah.
really helps me continue to celebrate and find all those things. Keep me excited to go on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and I kind of like want to circle back for like quickly too, because I feel there are like some people who get it and some people who like, wait, what? Why is that hard? Like when you said like hardest thing was like sending out an email to like your friends and family and extended friend lists and so on.
Yeah.
The hard part, like some people will be like, well, but why was it hard to send that to your friends and family? Like what? Ooh. And then the other half, like me, it was like, man, that's the hardest fucking thing in the world. Right. And I remember when I started my business, like I'd rather put up Facebook ads than actually telling everyone in my network what I'm doing. Just because, like, I don't know, it felt safer.
Yeah.
And I also did like the worst case, like what could happen, worst case scenario. And like, yeah, the worst thing is that they couldn't book me. But then my mind is a devious one. Then she was like, well, that's not actually the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is like, I don't know, what was it at the time? It was like something along the lines of like, you know, um, they, I don't know, they'll think you'll be like, you're a fraud, or they think like, oh, why is she not successful that she has to like ring up family and friends, and like, I don't know, all these kind of like bullshit stories, until I was like, no, it's okay, but thank you, brain, but we're letting someone else like drive now for now. It's okay. So
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting, right? Like that the closer people are to us, the harder it feels for some of us. And for others, it's exactly the opposite. They're like, yeah, sure. Like they're so used to kind of like fall back on their network, on their communities, and without any shame or fear of shame or fear of being shamed or fear of being ridiculed or like, I don't know, repercussions, whatever. And then the other half is just like, I'd rather like talk to a stranger on the street than actually ring up the people I worked with. So
Well,
funny.
and I think some of that it's taking practice. So yeah, you say there's people out there that might not be bothered by that. I'm like, how would they not have been bothered by that email? Because that was like, sorry, you mean there's people that don't think like that? And as I've grown my business and done these things and becoming more confident, and just not even confident in my business, even just confident in
Yeah.
owning who I am, that now I don't have now those things aren't
Yeah.
scary. Like I can go into my networking group and tell them about something. And I was telling one of them about, something that I was doing online and like building these funnels and all stuff. I'm like, this stuff is like so overwhelming, yet it's so exciting. There's these cool things. And like I started talking about, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to hire you. I want you to teach me. And I'm like, okay, absolutely. Had I ever taught anyone before? No. But my excitement about it
Yeah.
was
Lit
contagious
up. And
in the belief.
yeah.
And they're like, yes, let's do it. And so now I have something new that I'm teaching and coaching. Now, 10 years ago, I would have, probably even 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, cool. Well, so I can send you some names of people that I think could help you. And sheepishly kind of turn my back away and be like, it's good to see you. See you at the next meeting. Right. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, awesome, let's do this. I want to help you grow too,
Yeah.
and I think it just I I just am excited about life again. I'm excited about
Yes.
what I'm doing with my time and how I can spend my time because I'm priced right to be able to create great opportunities for the people that I'm working with, be able to put money in my account, to be able to go and take my kids on amazing trips, right? My life, like you said, there's light and dark. Is there always
Yeah.
dark? Absolutely. And I am loving all the light. And when we can share that and have that enthusiasm, it attracts more like that. So if listeners would be feeling like, gosh, just everything around me is just so negative, and it's, there's just no one that's positive about things and feels like they're all thinking about the worst. I would challenge them to think about how they're showing up, because energies match energy.
Yeah.
And if they really want to have something positive, they want more in their life, we get to believe it. We get to show up and elevate and
Yeah.
increase our frequencies, because happy people, abundance people, they want to be around other people like that.
Yeah.
And so, we all have down times. We all have moments
Yeah.
where we're feeling sad, depressed. So I'm not saying that. I'm not
No, it's not about
completely happy
toxic
every day, right?
positivity or
No,
anything like that. But I
no.
mean, I always like I always kind of like also see it like that. Like if you're going through something, even if it's something, I don't know, not really like life or death, right? Like, I don't know, you said you want to start running. Okay, fair enough. Will never be me. But anyway, like
I was just
you
gonna say,
said,
I'm like,
like,
that's
I'm not a
not a good
runner.
description,
I
good
know,
suggestion
but
for
it's
me,
the
but
first thing
okay.
that came to mind. I'm like, wait, what is that? Like, what is my unconscious want to tell me?
That's
Shut
just,
up, shut
yeah.
up. But like, so if you want to start running, and probably the first couple of times will be hard as fuck, and you're not really liking it, you don't really want to do it. But like, you can either run and mope while you run and like curse and hate your life, or be actually like, I'm just gonna run, just gonna focus on like my body and my muscles and breathing and see how I feel. Right? Like, you don't have to be, oh, I love running while you run. You
Right.
just like, okay, if I can't go to positive, I can go into neutral. And neutral is just be. I can just
Yep.
see and observe that, I don't know, it's getting harder to breathe. It's getting easier to breathe. I don't know, what is the road doing ahead of me? How are my muscles feeling? Are my legs tired? That's neutral or like conscious. And then I think like, okay, like if you curse yourself while running, will it make it easier?
Right. Nope.
Like, will it? Will it really? Like, I
Nope,
mean,
not at all.
no. I mean, there are times when cursing something or someone does help. It's very therapeutic, but like, I don't know. I'm always thinking like it's not gonna help you if you just keep on seeing, like, I don't know, being a negative Nancy, if you want to put it like that,
Yeah.
and just be
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe try something new. And if you can't be like Sunshine Susan, I'm just making shit up now, but then just
I like
yeah,
Sunshine Susan.
Sunshine Susan. Then just go into like neutral mode and just be and observe without good, bad feelings,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. And I don't know about you, but when I can then shift into that neutral, that then it's so much easier to find the ways to be even the Sunshine Susan and even
Of
celebrate.
course,
So when
yes.
in my attempts of, when I'd be like, I think I'm going to start running, which I have a couple times in my life, and I would easily be like, this is the dumbest thing. Why did I decide to do this? This hurt, all of that. Right. So then we shift neutral. All right. I'm just so glad that my body is moving, and getting going.
Yeah.
And then I would set small
Or
goals.
you can also shift into gratitude and be like, hey,
Absolutely.
like, okay, I don't know, I can still, hey, who knew that my body can still run that long? Even if it's just 100 yards, doesn't matter.
Yes. Oh no, I would set goals of running to the next stop sign, or I'm going to get to 3 mailboxes. Awesome.
Yeah.
I just ran 3 mailboxes. Man, I didn't know my legs could even move that fast, or whatever. Like, and then it just kind of becomes a game. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. But that's a key word, right? Like gamification. I feel that's also like one of the key success rules or key success mindsets in business, right? You have to see it as a game, and not in the sense of like, oh, I'm not attached, I don't like, but in the sense of like curiosity and imagination, and be like, let's just see what happens. Let's have some fun. Let's just see where this goes. And yes, we were all high achievers or current high achievers, so we want to win. but like, there is no winning, but the business itself, the journey itself, right? There's no end goal unless it's literally the end, which we don't want to go there yet. We still have things to do.
We still have lots of journeying to do.
Yeah, we still have fun things to do. So yeah, I don't know. I feel it's always kind of like really interesting to have these conversations and be.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I
kind of
love
like
that you
think
say
about
like approaching it with curiosity,
it.
because I think I love that, because there are things like, when that email that I sent that seemed so scary. Well, could I have switched even just then? Like, is this scary? Or maybe in my mind, I'm like, you know what? This is going to be fun to see how many people respond. Right.
Yeah.
Already just saying that sure feels a whole lot better. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. This is so scary to send out this email. What if, wow, this is gonna be fun. Let's see how many people encourage me. Let's see how many people congratulate me. Let's see if how many are interested in booking a session. Right.
Yeah.
Now it's like, ooh, now this is fun. It's curious. We want to do it. Whatever the results are, but we're curious to know. Yeah.
Yeah. But it like, and it applies to everything, right? Like, let's say you wrote one of those Instagram posts that you're like really proud of because they were so great. And like, I don't know, you got like 3 likes and you're like, awesome. Like, what you could do is kind of like, you could like be like, like, or you could just say, okay, I really like this post. Okay. Like, what can I do? What do I need to change? Maybe I have to write like a more catching headline to the post, or I need a different visual, or it needs to be a reel or whatever. And just kind of like come from like curious, or I don't know. You can also approach it in like a curiosity, adventure, discovery, scientific kind of way, and just be like, oh, okay, this didn't work. how can I make it work? Just
Yep.
gonna try something else. Or an offer. Okay, that offer didn't fly. Maybe it needs a different title, or maybe it needs another price point, or maybe the messaging was wrong. Like just trying out different things in a neutral mode without your brain coming in with all these stories of you're not good enough or me.
Yes, absolutely.
So like trying different things and stuff, like tell me about a time in your business where you're like truly fucked up. Do you have one mistake where like, bah,
Uh,
like
well, I lost images from a session. So I do
oh,
photography. I
I
take
hope it
pictures
wasn't a
for
wedding.
people. No,
Oh,
thank goodness. And I honestly, for the longest time, I never wanted to do weddings because I'm like, what if, like, that was my biggest worry. Cause I'm like, you can't recreate that
I
day.
so get that. I would be like, I would go completely nuts and have like, I don't know, 4 different backup like batteries, whatever.
Oh,
Like,
yes. Yep. When we shot weddings, because we do some destination weddings too. So when we
yeah.
shot one in Mexico, we bought new hard drives, and before we left Mexico, we were on the same plane, myself and my second shooter, but then we also were prepared to send hard drives home via the mail, but because of everything down there, we weren't able to. So we sent it with another family member that was on a different plane. So that way we're like, just in case
If
the
we
plane
die,
crashed and
the
we don't have,
photos
I
will
know,
make it.
if we die, you're still gonna have your memories. By golly. So
I love
I
it.
get the
Okay.
whole
Yeah. Yeah.
over preparing
I
for
get it.
weddings.
That's my level of commitment too. I get it. Okay, but what was the biggest? So you kind of
So
how did
yeah,
you lost the pictures of a session?
I I lost them, and I was just sick. Like, how in the world? And thankfully they were just so gracious. I offered to do a reshoot. We came up with things. I'm like, I will do whatever we can to make this right. And so we went ahead and we did another session. They were completely like, it's fine, it's no big deal. I'm like, it's not okay. I appreciate your compassion with this, and it's not okay. And we'll be taking steps to make sure that we do. So now there's
Yeah, yeah.
new processes in place. So it's like that was a really awful thing that happened, and I hated it. I felt bad. And now what do we do? Right
Yeah.
now, what? Okay, what?
What is
And
kind of like
so
the
it
hidden
created
learning in that, so we can take something good out
absolutely,
of this?
yeah, yeah, for sure. And so now there's new systems in place that they come on, they get downloaded, they stay on a card, and they stay in the storage thing that I have filed and named, and they don't come off of that until I actually deliver. Right. So we figure
Yeah, I
these
love
things
it.
out. It probably would have taken me a little bit longer before I decided to do that, but that happened, and so now we have a better system.
Yeah, and there are probably also people who say like, oh, that's way too much. You can just upload it to a cloud, whatever. Like, I don't know, whatever makes you sleep at night. Like,
Right.
it kind of gets your thing. It's your business, whatever. It helps you sleep at night. Like that's not gonna drive you insane at the same time.
Yeah.
Like how do you like measure like progress and success now, or has it shifted when you, I don't know, start? I mean, when you start, obviously it has shifted when you were a stay-at-home mom and now that you have your own business, I suppose. But during your time, during your 12 years now, how's like how you define success or making progress in your business, has that shifted?
Yeah, because for like the first 6 years, I didn't I didn't define any success. Like, I was
Mm,
literally just kind of going through motions. Okay. I mean, I ended up
mm.
spending about 10 years in court. So there was a lot of mental energy that was just
Oh
elsewhere.
wow,
So it's
yeah.
like the first
Mm,
many years, it's like, well, whoever comes my way and wants me to take pictures, awesome.
yeah,
I made some money, awesome. Wasn't tracking it. I started tracking it, and that's when things changed. And so it was understanding what your cost of doing business was, which
mm-hmm.
I was over 5 years in before I did that. And then I realized I really wasn't making money. So let's change that, right?
So
I
you were earning money while you were losing money while you were taking photos, or
oh yeah, by the time I was done, I might as well have been paying them to go out and do it. It's like there's lots of costs, there's lots of
sounds
expenses. I could have
amazing.
flipped
Yes.
burgers. I could have flipped burgers for
Oh
cheaper,
no.
for better than that, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. But in most of my adult life, I didn't handle the finances. I didn't know any of those things.
Mhm.
I just, I didn't have that learning experience. And so
Mhm.
at 35, I'm trying to figure out where's our insurance? How much is it? Who do I pay? Like
Yeah.
the very basics.
Yeah.
And then cost of doing business, what's that? Okay. So then I finally figured out, I'm like,
Yeah.
and I remember even audibly as I put all the stuff together, audibly saying out loud, I'm like, oh, that's why photographers charge $75 for a 8x10 print, right? Because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, there's a lot more to it. I don't get to keep that $400 that they paid me.
Mm.
Far from it. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that and then tracking it,
Mm. Yeah.
having my goals. What is my goal for the year? Breaking it down into monthly goals. All right, what does that look like? If my
Mm.
monthly goal is $50,000, how many sessions do I need to do? If my goal is $500, what do I need to bring in, right? So it's the things trying to break it down and make it manageable, because sometimes when you're looking at big numbers, I never thought I would be able to generate $100,000 in a business. That seemed
Mhm.
like such big dreaming when I was, making $10,000. Well, what does $100,000 look like? Divide it by 12. Now, what
Mhm.
does that look like per month? Okay. How many sessions at what kind of
Yeah,
price?
like really
Oh,
breaking it down. Yeah.
so if I charge $3,000, oh, I only need 3 sessions a month. That's
Yeah, if I
doable.
charge 50
Well,
bucks,
then,
I need a hell lot of
right,
more sessions.
right. Yeah. I'm not doing anything. I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting my kids anywhere because we don't have any time. So once we get that, now there's that excitement that backs it up. And it's like, okay, this is achievable, doable. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then my excitement, just it relates, and I'm able to share it with other people. And
Yeah.
then I'm getting those bookings. So
I'm curious. That's probably like really interesting for anyone listening in who is a service provider in their very early or their earlier years. Because I mean, you're a photographer, creative service provider. I mean, I come from brand strategy and design, also loads of creative space.
yeah,
And I know I have several I mostly work with creative service providers because we're awesome. We have vision. We have like
heck yeah,
and
we do.
yeah, we're good. We're awesome. So, but we always kind of like have hard thing pricing, I feel, right? Because we have that voice in our heads of like, oh, my grandma has a camera too. She can also take the wedding pictures. Sure, you go do that, right? Like, I mean, we're now like, yeah, okay, sure, let grandma do that and then we'll see,
Right.
right? Like, I mean, every time I hear now saying someone like, oh, I'm just gonna get like a logo designer from like Upwork, and I'm like, you do that, you go, you like whatever.
Yeah.
And then more often than not, they come back like 3 months later and be like, can you please fix this? I'm like, no, sorry, I cannot. But
But I'd be
like,
happy to start from scratch.
yeah, exactly. Sorry about like the $50 you lost on Upwork. But like, but how do we go about, like, how did you go about this, right? Like how to actually get a pricing as a creative service provider that is allowing you to live the life you want. How
Sure.
did you go
Yeah.
about that? Because I feel this is really important information for someone who, or important mind flips for someone who's early in their journey versus to you where you're like, you're a veteran.
Have you heard of the book Profit First?
Yes, I have it
Mhm.
in my bookshelf. It has a lot of like the core concept. I love it. I couldn't apply all of it because like our Europe system is different than the US system, but
Okay.
the core thing of like putting everything into buckets and things, yes, love it.
Yes. Yeah. That was the game changer for me, was
Oh.
because when you can see, okay, so, oh, that's so exciting. I got $500 for that session. Awesome.
Mm.
When you immediately, which not immediately, so, but I was early on doing it after every session because they might have been sporadic sessions, right? Well,
Yeah.
now it's twice a month that you pull the money out and put it into all these buckets. So all the money goes into one income account, that your checking account. $500 for this session, $3,000 for another. All of it's in there. It's like, oh, had a $10,000 a month. Awesome. Okay. Well, now let's divide it, right? And now we divide out the taxes and
Yeah,
put
here's
a
the
portion
tax
of that in
bucket
that
and the
bucket.
retirement bucket and like the healthcare
Yes.
bucket and like, yeah,
And
the
then
I
all of
actually
a
need to
sudden
eat
I'm like,
bucket.
I know. And now I'm like, oh, here's the what I really earned bucket. I'm like, okay, well, I
Cool.
want more than that. Now what?
50 cents.
And
Love it.
yeah,
Love this for me.
yeah, yeah. And that all of my students that I work with, that's what we start
Yeah.
with is the very base of the groundwork of setting these things up, getting it ready. Cause it shifted. That was a huge game changer for
Yes.
me in my business and how I treated things. Is like, okay, no, if I actually want to have a real business, something sustainable that I can do full time forever, yes, then that's
Yeah.
what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to generate more money. So that really helped me with that mindset of, oh, it seems like a shifting from I think sometimes, at least for me, it was like, I would view it as a client's perspective, like, oh, like what we're talking about with the family stuff. Are you crazy? $500 just for pictures to shoot an hour must be nice. I want to be a photographer too. I should go get a camera, right? So those are things that would kind of be in my head. But when you look at it, those are just facts on the paper now. There's a
Yeah, I mean, you
spreadsheet.
have prep work, you have like after work, like where you edit, you have post production, like yeah.
Yes. So you take all those hours and then divide it up, just not with the $500, because you get to divide those hours up based on your one bucket of $170. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a lot of work for only $170. Yeah, I know I'm worth more. And so those
Yeah.
are the things that really help me understand and be like,
Yes.
yep, game on. We're switching this and we're leveling up.
Yeah, and that's like such a universal truth, right? Like you always have to face what is, right? Like whether that's your finances or it's your, I don't know, you want to improve your website. You got to first look like what is working and what is like and what is not. If you start with like having a review or like an audit of like what is working, what is not working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like, yeah, it goes for your finances too, where you're like, oh, actually, okay, so this is it. This is what it is. And then I feel like the important part is coming to like, again, be in the neutral state about it. These are just the numbers. They're not good or bad. They don't say anything about you. It's just what is your brain or what are parts of you telling or make these numbers mean? What are the stories that are playing, right? Like, oh, who are you to charge me? That's not the numbers.
And
That's not the numbers. That's kind of like your a part of your narrative of your story.
yeah. And that's where I've done a lot of work over the years of just trying of shifting those narratives, right? Because you're right. It's like, oh yeah, who am I to? Well, you know what? Who am I not to? So that's kind of the shift is like, yeah, who am I to do that? Well, who am I not to? Let's go. Let's figure out how we can still support and serve my clients in a way that supports and serves my family and the things that we want to do and the dreams. And I like the neutral concept because it removes any guilt and shame looking at the stuff because you can look at those numbers and be like, oh my goodness, such an idiot. How did I not? I didn't understand that. Like you could go that route.
Yes. Or my favorite route. Oh, I should have known. I can hear. Oh, sorry. Now we work. Okay. Sorry. I have some mic issues. My editor really will cut this back. Oh, again?
Yes.
Okay. I got a new, kind of like a new mic, but it seems weird. I don't know. The cable already is wonky. So thanks for that.
Oh, shoot.
Blue Yeti. Anyway, Lily will cut this out. Or we'll leave it in just for the fun of it. I don't care.
Thanks, Lily.
Yeah, thanks, Lily. Or we'll leave it in. It's up to you, Lily. No.
So what was it? What was your favorite that you were saying?
My favorite route of like trashy self-talk is you should have known better.
Oh, yes. I would say should equals shame. So just take that
Yes.
should out of your vocabulary.
Oh God, yes. Like yeah. Like ditch the should as fast as you
Yep.
can. Any way possible.
Don't should on yourself.
Don't should on yourself. Oh, I love this. Yeah. I didn't want to have this on the coffee mug. Don't should on yourself. Yeah, which is so true, right? Like it's all those kind of, oh, I should have known better. I should have seen it coming. I should be further ahead than I am. Blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of like based on some kind of comparison of you, of where you are now between, I don't know, some idealistic version of whatever. And it's like, there's no winning. There's no winning this game.
No. Nope. We win when we give ourselves grace.
This is very true. Like, I'm curious, like, I'm glad you touched upon, like, you did a lot of work and a lot of, like, let's also call it healing, I suppose, to stay in business. Right. And what were the biggest stories that you were like, I don't know why I kept that, like, keep on playing. What I don't know, I feel like everyone who's in entrepreneurship is not expecting that they have to deal with so much personal shit and like heal so much personal shit. And like, what was like one of the shits you had to heal yourself from to be like, to have like a thriving business?
Really, it was believing in myself that I was capable,
yeah,
that I was smart enough to do it. There were a lot of opportunities growing when I was young that it was like, man, the world's my oyster. I can do it all. And at some point that shifted to, I'm just a mom. What can a mom do? You know, I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough to do this. And I was always taken care of in our marriage, and wonderfully. And, you know, from a financial standpoint, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the lessons that people would learn in their young adult lives about money, about running things, right? I didn't. And so it was easy for me to kind of wallow in that of who am I to think that I could do that? And really just, and that's where the action, you know, when we take action, action breeds confidence. And for me, it was those very small actions to start with, because even those small ones felt very overwhelming.
You
felt
have
very
to start
daunting.
really, really, really small. It's otherwise you will not, you will either not do it at all, or you'll push through on like that push energy that will only sustain you for like, I don't know, a week, a month, whatever, and then you kind of like burn out. Yeah. And it's it's so interesting, right? Like, whenever, like, I mean, all of my guests on the City podcast so far have been women, or have grown up or identified themselves as women. And it's so funny, right? Like, that we're getting told this thing of like, or you're just a mom, right? And I mean, we're getting it told or prepared so much that we started to actually believe it ourselves. And like, oh man, if I could shift this narrative of like, God, your body has given birth to three human, like it has grown three human beings. This is like fucking amazing. And you're like dealing with 3 under 4. It's like, you're like, as I said, you're like a cross between like a saint and like superwoman. Like it's insane, right? Like, and then still we're like, oh, I'm just a mom. I haven't done anything that's like that is perceived as a success and like the real world outside of my home, blah blah. And like, I so hate it. Like, I'm like so fucking done with this.
And as you say that though, I'm like, I'm reliving and thinking about those times when I was just a mom.
Yeah.
And they fill me with such joy. And I think sometimes that's where we can kind of just sit back and be like, what is a success for you?
Yeah.
If it is financial success, if it is, you know, wanting to, but whatever that is, find the joy in it.
Yes.
When I was just a mom, I'm like, those are some of my happiest happiest memories with the kids, doing these fun little things and setting up concession stands where you'd have movie nights and I'd have snacks, how much they cost, and I'd give all the kids coins and they'd have to pay
Oh,
me
it's
for
so
the snacks.
adorable.
And, I'm like, I loved all of that.
So
Loved it
adorable. Oh my
all.
God.
And so
Gotta
we
copy
get
that
to
idea.
find the joy. Yes, I absolutely. I guess in other words, if you travel, one other thing that we did when they were kids is that if we were on long road trips, I took a piece of masking tape from the back of the car to the front of the car, our van, and then I made lines for every cross state line. And then I had a little matchbox car that I velcroed to the top of our car. And every time I'd keep moving
Oh,
it. So when it was like, are we there yet? I'd be like, look, this is where we are. Oh,
this
we're
is
almost
such
to
a
the
cool
Indiana line.
visual.
It
Oh
was.
my
And then
God.
we'd
Yeah.
celebrate. We'd celebrate with a snack or a little Dollar Tree toy at every
Yeah.
state line when we were going somewhere. So yeah, like
Yeah, that is
those
so
things were
cool.
fun to me.
Yeah.
They were so fun to me. And now in that moment when I transitioned, I'm thinking, I can't do this. I can't run a business. As I was learning these things about finances and I was learning, what is compound interest? How do you save? What is tax? How much do I need to put aside for taxes? All this stuff. I would kind of want to run those negative narratives again. Like, I can't believe I'm 35 and starting over and I don't even know how to do any of this.
I should know this
I
by 35.
should, I should have known this
You were
sooner.
shitting
And
all over
then
yourself.
I absolutely was. And you know what? What
Mm.
switched is I'm like, this is so cool because I'm learning at a very beginner level
Mm.
so late in life at 35. I'm like, I get to teach my kids. I
Mhm.
get to bring them along on this journey and share the excitement because it's new and exciting to me that I get to learn it. I don't
Mm.
know if I would have learned it at 20, how easily accessible or how I would have translated it to my kids, right? We don't know, but I do know I'm doing a heck of a lot with them now
Yeah.
because I'm learning at this point in my journey and
Yeah, and they see
encouraging
you
them to,
doing that,
oh,
right? Like,
absolutely. I'm
mm,
like, be an entrepreneur. What do you want to do? What excites you? Let's find something.
mm.
My youngest, we've gone through 3 different things that he's been interested in. I'm like, okay, you want to do this? All right, let's open up an
Cool.
Instagram account. Then here's
Yeah.
what do you need to do? What tools do you need? Let's do it. I'm encouraging it. Now, I am very excited when he finds the thing that really lights him up that he wants to stick with. We haven't found that yet, but he's working through it, right? I'm like, this
Yeah.
is great practice. And he's like, okay,
Yes.
mom. So yeah, so I need a $1,000 computer. I need this. I need that. Get started. I said, no, you don't, because you don't have any resources. So here's what you do. Put, and like explaining these things. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's so. As a mom, I couldn't be more proud in the financial
Yeah.
aspect of things when talking to the kids because they bring their paychecks to me. They've been working since they were
Yeah.
12, and as they bring them to me, they're now in the habit. I say, hey, all right, here's your check. They're like, okay. I said, well, this is $120. What do you want to do with it? And they'll say, I want 50 in spending money, I want 50 in long term, and I want 20 in short term. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're gonna get this.
Yeah.
Whatever legacy their dad and I
Yes.
are able to leave for them,
Yeah.
they are going to be wise with it. They're going to be
Yeah.
able to make more fruitful and multiply it to serve more, to impact
Yeah.
more, to be able to whatever their mission is in life and
Yeah.
how they want to help and serve and give back to the community. They're going to have even more to do it
Yeah.
because we're teaching them these things
Yes,
early on. And
absolutely.
so,
Right.
yeah.
Like they don't do as we say, they do as we do, right? Like they
Hmm.
model. And I mean sometimes that's
I know.
pretty hard pill to take. But yeah, I love that. And like, I don't know, we're having a similar thing with like the pocket money. It's like, oh, okay, you have like, I don't know, you get $5. So $1 is for you, $1 is for like for the bank savings account, $1 is like for the holiday fun money, and like
Yeah.
$1 is for charity.
Yep.
So then you can bring, I don't know, every time of every year before Christmas, you can like pick out charity and give them the money to kind of like know, okay, this is what's kind of requested. But like,
Yeah.
circling back on what you said, with like some of your happiest memories were when, also like when you look back on when you were a mom and like just the mom bit. And I feel that's such a good thought to close our conversation. I want to circle back to that. It doesn't matter, right? Like how everyone on your outside defines success, right? Like if you want to be a stay-at-home mom and find joy in that, then please be a stay-at-home mom. If you find joy in corporate, then please stay in corporate. Don't become an entrepreneur, right? Like
It's not for
whatever.
everybody. It's not for the weak of heart.
Oh God, no. But right, like it doesn't matter, right? Like if you know you're good at this, it lights you up, you want to do this, then go be it, regardless
Absolutely.
of whatever kind of weird arbitrary success parameters are placed on something. Screw that.
Mhm.
Ooh, Heather, it was such a blessing to have you here on a Scenic Route podcast. Like,
I loved it.
yeah. Oh, I feel like we could do another hour, but we probably have
I
to do
know.
that another time. So, like, let us know where people can find you online, where you hang out. Is it Instagram? I
Yeah.
suppose
Yep.
photographers hang out on Instagram.
Yep. Instagram and Facebook is where I'm at for that. I specialize in high school seniors, so a lot on Instagram. My on Instagram it's Sweet Lemonade Photo,
Perfect.
and
We'll link it.
yep, and Facebook is Sweet Lemonade Photography. And then for my coaching side, where I help photographers grow their businesses, I've got a group called Freedom for Photographers, and that's on Facebook as well. And
Perfect.
then there's even the website, so sweetlemonadephotography.com. That will do, you'll hit everything there because it's got my seniors, my corporate, and also a link to all the coaching things that I've got going on too.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So please check out Heather. Heather, thank you so much for being with me on a Scenic Route podcast. It was a blast.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.